You know what? We've been lied to our entire lives. Society has fed us this idea that we need to be perfect, that we need to eliminate all our flaws, fix every single thing that's wrong with us, and become these polished, flawless versions of ourselves. But here's the truth that nobody wants to tell you. Your bad habits, those traits that you've been beating yourself up about for years, might actually be your biggest strengths in disguise. I know it sounds crazy, right? How can procrastination be good? How can being overly emotional help you succeed? How can your tendency to overthink actually work in your favor? Well, stick with me because by the end of this video, you're going to see yourself in a completely different light. And trust me, this perspective shift is going to change everything for you. Let's start with something that almost everyone struggles with. Procrastination. We all do it. We put things off until the last minute and then we feel terrible about it. We tell ourselves we're lazy, we're undisciplined, we're failures. But what if I told you that procrastination isn't laziness at all? What if it's actually your brain's way of telling you something incredibly important? Think about it. When do you procrastinate the most? Usually it's when you're working on something that doesn't really matter to you, or when you haven't figured out the best way to approach a task yet. Your procrastination is actually your subconscious mind protecting you from wasting energy on things that aren't aligned with your true goals. It's like an internal compass pointing you toward what really matters. Some of the most successful people in history were massive procrastinators. They didn't rush into things. They waited until the pressure built up, and then they used that pressure as fuel. That last-minute panic? That's when your brain goes into hyper-focus mode. That's when creativity explodes. That's when you produce your best work because there's no time for perfectionism or second-guessing. You just create. So instead of fighting your procrastination, start paying attention to it. What are you procrastinating on? Maybe those are the things you should eliminate from your life entirely. And when you do procrastinate on something important, use that deadline pressure as rocket fuel. Some people work best under pressure, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now let's talk about being overly emotional. If you're someone who feels things deeply, who cries at movies, who gets really excited about small things, who feels hurt more easily than others, society has probably told you to toughen up, to stop being so sensitive, to grow thicker skin. But here's what they don't understand. Your emotional sensitivity is actually a superpower. Emotional people have higher emotional intelligence. They can read rooms better. They understand what others are feeling, often before those people understand it themselves. This makes them incredible leaders, amazing friends, brilliant artists, and highly effective communicators. While everyone else is focused on logic and facts, emotionally sensitive people are connecting with the human experience. They're building real relationships. They're creating art and content that actually moves people. In business, emotional intelligence is becoming more valuable than IQ. Companies are desperate for people who can understand their customers on a deep level, who can build authentic brands, who can lead teams with empathy. If you're an emotional person, you have a natural advantage in this area. The key is learning to channel those emotions productively instead of letting them overwhelm you. Your sensitivity means you care deeply. And people who care deeply are the ones who change the world. So stop apologizing for feeling too much. Start using those feelings as information, as fuel, as your secret weapon. What about overthinking? Oh man, overthinkers get such a bad reputation. We're told to just relax, to stop worrying so much, to live in the moment. But overthinking isn't always a problem. Sometimes it's actually strategic thinking in disguise. Overthinkers are the people who see problems before they happen. They're the ones who think through every possible outcome, who prepare for scenarios that others never even considered. Yes, sometimes this leads to anxiety and paralysis, but when channeled correctly, overthinking becomes strategic planning. It becomes risk management. It becomes innovation. The greatest inventors, entrepreneurs, and scientists were all overthinkers. They asked questions nobody else was asking. They saw problems from every possible angle. They didn't just accept things as they were. They thought deeply about how things could be different, better, more efficient. If you're an overthinker, your challenge isn't to stop thinking. It's to give your thinking a direction and a deadline. Set aside specific time for deep thinking and problem solving. Write down your thoughts so they don't just spin around in your head. Turn your overthinking into planning, strategizing, and creating. Use it to anticipate obstacles and prepare solutions. That's not a weakness. That's wisdom. Let's talk about being stubborn. Stubbornness gets such a bad reputation. But think about what stubbornness really is. It's unwavering commitment. It's refusing to give up. It's standing firm in your beliefs and values even when everyone around you disagrees. Every person who has ever achieved something extraordinary was called stubborn at some point. They were told to be realistic, to give up, to try something easier, but they refused. Their stubbornness kept them going when everyone else would have quit. Their inability to accept no as an answer pushed them through barriers that stopped everyone else. The difference between stubbornness and determination is just perspective. When someone succeeds, we call them determined. When they're still struggling, we call them stubborn. But it's the same quality. It's the refusal to quit. It's the unwillingness to compromise on what matters most. If you're stubborn, you have persistence built into your DNA. You just need to make sure you're being stubborn about the right things. Be stubborn about your dreams. Be stubborn about your values. Be stubborn about becoming the person you want to be. But be flexible about the methods. That's the sweet spot where stubbornness becomes your greatest asset. What about being impulsive? Society tells us to always think before we act, to be careful, to play it safe. But impulsive people are the ones who actually take action, while everyone else is still thinking about it. They're the ones who start businesses, who move to new cities, who take chances that lead to incredible opportunities. Yes, impulsiveness can lead to mistakes, but it also leads to experiences, to learning, to growth. While careful people are still researching and planning, impulsive people are out there doing, failing, learning, and succeeding. They're building momentum. They're creating results. The most successful entrepreneurs often have a strong impulsive streak. They see an opportunity and they jump on it. They don't wait for perfect conditions because they understand that perfect conditions never come. They make decisions quickly and then figure out the details as they go. If you're impulsive, you have a bias toward action. That's incredibly valuable in a world where most people are paralyzed by overthinking and fear. Your challenge is to combine your impulsiveness with just enough planning to avoid truly catastrophic mistakes. But don't lose that spark, that willingness to jump, that courage to act. That's what makes things happen. Here's the beautiful truth that ties all of this together. There are no bad habits. There are only misunderstood strengths. Every trait that you've been taught to hate about yourself is actually a powerful tool. It's just been mislabeled, misunderstood, and misused. The problem isn't you. The problem is that you've been trying to fit yourself into someone else's definition of success, someone else's idea of what a good person should be. But the most successful, fulfilled, and happy people aren't the ones who fixed all their flaws. They're the ones who learned to leverage them. So here's what I want you to do. Think about the trait you hate most about yourself. The thing you've been trying to change for years. The habit that makes you feel guilty or ashamed. Now ask yourself this question. How could this trait actually be a strength in disguise? How could it serve me if I understood it differently? How could I use this quality to my advantage? This isn't about making excuses for genuinely harmful behaviors. If you have habits that hurt you or others, those need to be addressed. But most of the things we beat ourselves up about aren't actually harmful. They're just different. They're just not what we've been told we should be. The world doesn't need more people trying to fit the same mold. It needs people who understand their unique wiring and leverage it unapologetically. It needs people who stop fighting themselves and start working with themselves. So stop trying to fix yourself. You're not broken. You never were. You're just powerful in ways you haven't recognized yet. Those bad habits, they're not holding you back. They're waiting to be transformed into your greatest strengths. All it takes is a shift in perspective and the courage to embrace who you really are. If this video changed how you see yourself, hit that like button and subscribe, because we're going to keep exploring ideas that challenge everything you thought you knew about success and personal growth. Drop a comment and tell me which of your so-called bad habits you're going to start seeing as a strength. I read every single comment and I can't wait to hear your perspective. Remember, you don't need to become someone else to be successful.